We just had some very exciting news, and I felt compelled to come and tell you about it. It looks like Bitcoin is approaching the $97,000 mark. Remember, yesterday it was down below 95,000. It was bouncing off that ceiling of resistance, and we had the ETFs pretty much come in and save the day. There was $450 million of inflows into the ETFs. Mainly iBIT was the main green one. Their salespeople are going nuts selling. They're selling their iBIT spot ETF on Bitcoin. And so now we have, we were worried yesterday with that bearish crossover that we would have some significant problems. And it was setting up that potentially it could recapture some lows, or not lows, but recapture a lower level. But the ETFs came in, bought. And then today, just a few minutes ago, we got some pretty interesting news that's really, I guess, speculative at this point to some degree, but it is moving markets for sure in these after hours. And so with that, remember, every single day in crypto is an adventure. So please be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel so you can see future channels, set your bell notifications to let you know when a new video is out. And with that, let's get into it. If you look at the price of Bitcoin right now, I mean, it is literally, it bounced off this ceiling of resistance yesterday, just moved above it. It was below this. It was below that $95,000 mark. Shot up. Now we've closed a candle above the 95,000 on the daily charts, and we're looking to probably improve upon that. Hopefully, that'd be great. Tomorrow is the Fed meeting. We're going to get into talking about the FOMC rate decision meeting as well. But you see here yesterday, we had some concern of this bearish crossover because it had crossed over. This was a red candle at the time, and now it's green. So could this rebound, bounce up? Sure. Could it go down, retake that cross? Absolutely. But with all the bullish news going on in crypto right now, it'd be really hard to believe that we're heading down and the rally is over. We have countries, companies, individuals, cities, states, everyone. They're talking about Bitcoin. It makes sense. And so look at this. Yesterday we had all these, the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 out of the last 12 days on the ETFs inflows were positive. And so that, I believe, was the saving grace on this bear crossover yesterday. But the big news tonight that's going to be talked about is this: U.S. officials to meet with Chinese counterparts in Switzerland amid trade war. The peace talks, the trade war talks with China have started, and they're going to a very, very neutral territory of Switzerland. So you have the Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, is to meet with the Chinese counterpart in Geneva. So obviously this isn't the big dogs, but this is huge. This is a huge start to a breakdown of the trade war and to come to some kind of agreement that will help propel. I saw yesterday that India basically signaled to Trump that we will drop all of our tariffs to you. And they're the first ones to really extend themselves. I know we had Canada's prime minister there today. They're going to want to make a deal. And Trump knows this. They're going to want to make a deal. So we'll see what happens there. I guess my picture, not that you all really wanted to see my face, but we'll see what happens. I believe that Trump will make some deals. I think these countries are really wanting to make a deal. And so this moved markets in a big way today. Now we're over 97,000. We haven't been over that mark. Obviously we pushed up against 98,000 just a couple of days ago, but we're back over 97,000 and rising fast, really fast. And that's really good for Bitcoin. Obviously tomorrow is a big day for the Federal Reserve. So the Federal Reserve Chair, Jerome Powell, they're going to have a meeting, and they have a meeting. I don't know if it's Monday, but I know it's Tuesday and Wednesday. They have their announcements at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Wednesday. And then at 2:30, Jerome Powell speaks. And it's going to be very interesting, the words he uses. And while a lot of people are expecting rate cuts, I absolutely 100% do not expect rate cuts. I just don't think we're going to get them. Why don't I think we're going to get them? Is because it's just the even though inflation has really cooled, you have oil at $58 a barrel, $57 a barrel, which is in the cost of goods and services pretty much everywhere until oil came down. It's the lowest it's been in 4 years. It's down 30% since Trump took office. Gas is down. The cost that people pay out for gas and things like that. If you look at inflation without shelter, it's significantly down. And it really shows that the country really needs to drop the rates. We've had inflated rates for a little while. And that's just not, it's hurting Americans. People might disagree with me, but at the end of the day, if it costs you that much more to put food on your table, inflation hurts Americans, and high rates is the cost to borrow. And people are borrowing money to pay for things like groceries and tires and things like that. Now, the tariffs, yeah, they could hurt definitely inflation in the long run. But right now, it's not really affected the price of goods and services other than companies thinking ahead of the curve, starting to charge for more, even though it really hasn't hit them yet. So what happens here with the tariffs is really going to push that narrative forward. And I don't know if it's too late, that this China deal is too late for this month's Fed meeting, but it's really not anticipated. There's a 98% chance that the Fed's going to keep the rates the same. And that's according to the CME Fed Rate Watch group. And it's really it's a surveys that are taken, but most people don't think the Fed's going to drop the rate. But what they do say is going to be very telling. How they talk about quantitative tightening. Are they going to pull back on the $5 billion of treasuries that they're still selling and the $35 billion of mortgage-backed securities they're selling monthly? Are they going to use the proceeds of the sale of the mortgage-backed securities to buy treasuries? But I've heard they're already buying treasuries, and QE is happening quietly in the background. I've seen some paperwork, can't confirm if it's real or not. But it's very interesting that the Fed, they're very careful with their monetary policy. But right now, all signs point to inflation has cooled significantly. Tariffs are paused. Deals are being made. I'd really like to see the Fed just fire a 25 basis point warning shot and see what happens from there. I think this is overdue. But, what am I to say? The markets, people think, the markets are fine. They're rebounding. That has nothing to do with the Fed decision. The Fed decision should purely be on their target interest rate of 2%. And if you look at the rate, the only reason it's higher, and it's not that much higher than that, has to do with shelter. Well, shelter is going to cost more if mortgage-backed securities are still being sold at $35 billion monthly and keeping rates artificially high, because people buying houses now are going to pay more because their rates are higher, and it's causing inflation to stay high. So until that mortgage-backed security sale goes down a little bit, I'm not saying drop the rates. Let's drop the sale of mortgage-backed securities. Let's let those mortgage rates come down and watch the price of shelter come down on new purchases. It makes sense. That being said, look, tomorrow, I don't think the Fed's going to drop the rate. I do think they're going to talk about quantitative tightening and easing of the quantitative tightening. I don't know if they're going to run out and start buying these things again, because they have $6 trillion on their asset sheet, on their books, and they need to pull that down, because if a real bad situation happens, we don't have a lot of ammo on the books for the Treasury, on their balance sheets. So I'd like to see them reduce the sale of their mortgage-backed securities, maybe reduce their quantitative tightening on treasuries a little bit, let those rates come down, because right now they're kept artificially high by the Fed. And then you'll see crypto and the liquidity boost, crypto boom, and everybody, or at least I will, be a little bit happier than I am today. I'm not upset, because crypto is still up 20% from the time Trump took office. And that's, and it was up, it's almost 70,000. Now it's at 95,000. We're still significantly higher. XRP, significantly higher. SUI, significantly higher. Solana has a little bit to run. Ethereum is just a dud. Everyone gave me a hard time for selling my Ethereum last week. Looking in retrospect, I think that was a good move. I didn't sell all of it. I sold a portion of it. But I still think that's a good move, because I think there's, if you're looking at it from a pure investment play, Petra comes out tomorrow, and that's Electra and the other update kind of merged together, like I talked about in a previous video. It typically, things run up into an update, and Ethereum did not run up. The excitement is fizzling. So all in all, very interesting time for crypto. I'm really interested to see what the Fed says tomorrow. We'll definitely have another update for you tomorrow. With that, if you made it this far, hit the like button, subscribe, share, do all those things, and I'll see you next time.